Hello again, Tim, the Minnesota firefighter with the arm form of melanoma cancer. In late August of 2019, I noted that my oncology team told me that I showed good response to immunotherapy treatment. In October, I traveled back to the Mayo Clinic in Rochester for another PET CT and a follow-up with their oncology group. I've been extremely fortunate that my body handles the immunotherapy treatment with very little in the way of noticeable side effects. So this was my first visit with yet another doctor at Mayo, and he asked me a few questions, asked me how I was doing with the treatment and whether I had any side effects. I motioned to my arm and said, well, I have this areas where I'm missing pigmentation, and his response was pretty positive. He goes, oh my gosh, you got vitiligo, that's great. And I went, well, that's great. What I've been asking for the last 6 months, what does this mean? He says, vitiligo, melanoma, Google it. It's great. It's good information. And I said, well, okay, I've been told to stay off the internet. And he says, no, just Google it. So he went on to explain to me that what happens is melanoma has certain protein markers on the cell that my T cell response for my immune system recognizes those protein markers, and that's what allows it to attack the melanoma. Well, melanin that's in our skin pigmentation also has similar protein markers, and the T cells can't recognize the difference between the melanoma and the melanin. So what happens is it actually attacks the melanin, which causes this vitiligo. So when a patient with melanoma who's being treated with immunotherapy displays vitiligo, it's a positive indication that the immunotherapy is working. So we were really happy to learn that. Like I said, I've been asking for the last 6 months, hey, is this normal? And most of the response have been, no, I don't know. So having that information was really good. When we did get home, I did Google it, and sure enough, here's some scientific studies that show up to 60% of melanoma cancer patients who are being treated with immunotherapy will display signs of vitiligo if they are having a positive response to the treatment. So we also reviewed the latest imagery from the PET scan imaging, and frankly, we didn't even discuss anything in my swimsuit area because the imagery didn't show any activity where we had the original problem with the melanoma. I've got that lymph node in my neck that we were keeping an eye on, and that's actually shrunk back to its original size and isn't showing much in the way of uptake. However, I have something at the base of my tongue that shows up on the imagery like a supernova. So it looks like I'm going to have some more appointments to see if we can figure out what's going on with that. It may be cancer, it may be something else. At this stage of the game, I've seen an ear, nose, and throat doctor once who didn't feel that it gave any indications of potential cancer. I'm scheduled to have another meeting with the same doctor. There's a possibility that we'll want to do a biopsy to see if there's something going on in there. I tell everybody it's just an elaborate process to get me to do a biopsy at the base of my tongue, so I'll shut up for a couple of days. So at this stage of the game, I enter into what I consider stage 4 of treatment. Up until recently, I've been receiving immunotherapy every other week. Starting now, I get to the immunotherapy treatment once every 4 weeks. The oncologist at Mayo considers me to have a complete response to the treatment, which means it's working. But I still am looking at another 6 months of treatment, could be as much as 2 years before we finish up with the treatment. And in the meantime, we're going to try and figure out what's going on in my throat. But we're continuing to be amazed. I feel extremely blessed to have had such good results with the treatment. So as always, we'll keep you in the loop as we go through the next stages of treatment. Thanks.